We're continuing with Caitanya-Caritāmṛta this morning. We are in chapter 13 of the Madhya-līlā, the Lord's dancing at Ratha-yātrā. And in our last reading, we went through some very elevated verses. It's a section where, Mahaprabhu's dancing in front of Lord Jagannath in the mood of Radharani, right? And in particular, there's a focal point around their meeting at Kṛṣṇadāsa, right? When they hadn't seen each other for over 100 years, and finally they're meeting, but instead of getting some relief from the pain of separation, it rather reaches its zenith point, right? Because, as we heard in one of these verses, Anya Vesh, Anya Sangha, Anya Desh, like, you're not the same Krishna we know, right? You're wearing other clothes, you have other friends, you're coming from another country, So instead, everything becomes much more difficult to bear. And so here then Kavirāja Gosvāmī is quoting some of the verses from Bhagavatam, right? Which is a part of the conversation that Radha and Krishna had. Of course, Radharani is not mentioned by name, but Radharani and the gopis we understand. But Kavirāja Gosvāmī is drawing out the inner meaning then he's elaborating in Bengali upon these verses that are Sanskrit verses from Bhagavatam. So we'll pick up here. This is where we ended. Very beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful ecstatic sections of Caitanya-Caritāmṛta. Śrīla Gurudev loved these verses. I remember hearing, you probably heard him too, just reciting from memory, from this section, many of these verses. Tumi braja jivan.
Sorry, what chapter and verse?
Oh, we're in chapter 13 of the Madhya-līlā. I'm picking up from verse 147. Tumi braja jivan, braja raja pranadan, tumi braja sakala sampad, viparja tomar man, asijya braja jan, braja uday koroni japad. My dear Krishna, you are the life and soul of Vrindavan Dham. You are especially the life of Nanda Maharaj. You are the only opulence in the land of Vrindavan, and you are very merciful. Please come and let them all live. Kindly keep your lotus feet again in Vrindavan. So Krishna left, right, when he's like 15 years old, brought by his uncle Akura, right, with the objective of dealing with Kamsa and other nefarious personalities. But he left with the promise that he was coming back, right? And every now and again he's sending messages. I'm coming soon, and then one time he sends Uddhava, his beloved friend, yes, I'm thinking of you. He's always sending these reassurances. And this is what's actually keeping them alive, because they cannot live without Krishna. Then they can't live without the thought of seeing him again. And so here Radharani is expressing, like if you want to keep them alive, then please come. Please come to Vrindavan. They cannot live without you. Shunyada dikavani braja prema monehani bhave vyakulita dehuman brajaloke prema shuni apanake nini mani kore Krishna tare ashvasan. After hearing Srimati Radharani's statements, Lord Krishna's love for the inhabitants of Vrindavan was evoked, and his body and mind became very perturbed. After hearing of their love for him, he immediately thought himself to be always indebted to the residents of Vrindavan. Then Krishna began to pacify Srimati Radharani as follows. Or are you finding it in Spanish?
No, I found it in Spanish. She said, no, I don't want it in Spanish.
Okay. Yeah, reading, that'll be the best, right? That'll help her. Yeah, good idea. Then Krishna began to pacify Srimati Radharani as follows. I did read that whole translation, right? Yeah. Pranapriyeshu namo e satya vachan. Toma sabha smadhane jura mui rachi dine. Mor dukana jane konjan. My dearest Srimati Radharani, please hear me. I am speaking the truth. I cry day and night simply upon remembering all you inhabitants of Vrindavan. No one knows how unhappy this makes me. Brajavasi jatajan mata pita sakagan sabe hoy mor pranasam tar majhe gopigan sakshat mor jivan tumi mor jivaner jivan. Lord Krishna continued, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan Dham, my mother, father, cowherd boyfriends, and everything else are like my life and soul. And among all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the gopis are my very life and soul. Among the gopis, you, Srimati Radharani, are the chief. Therefore, you are the very life of my life. Toma sabha premadase amake korilo vashe ami tomar adina keval Toma sabha charaya amador deshe loya rakiyache dodaiva prabal. My dear Srimati Radharani, I am always subservient to the loving affairs of all of you. I am under your control only. My separation from you and residence in distant places have occurred due to my strong misfortune. Priya priya sangha hina, priya priya sangha vina, nahi jiye satya praman. Mor dasha shone jabe, tae dasha hobe, e boye duhe rake pran. When a woman is separated from the man she loves, or a man is separated from his beloved woman, neither of them can live. It is a fact that they live only for one another. For if one dies and the other hears of it, he or she will die also. Se sati premavati, premavan se pati, viyoge jevanche priyahite, nagone apana duk vanche, priyajana suk, se dui mile achirate. A loving, chaste wife and a loving husband who desire all welfare for each other in separation and do not care for personal happiness, desire only one another's well-being. Such a pair certainly meet again without delay. Nakite tomar jivan sevi aminadayan tar shakti asi niti niti tomasane krida kodi niti jai jadu podi tahatumi manahamor spurti. You are my most dear, and I know that in my absence you cannot live for a moment. Just to keep you living, I worship Lord Narayan. By his merciful potency, I come to Vrindavan every day to enjoy pastimes with you. I then return to Dwarka Dham. Thus you can always feel my presence here in Vrindavan. Mor bhagya movishaye tomar je prema hoye se prema parama prabal. Lukai amane sangha korai tomasane prakate anibe satvar. Our love affair is more powerful because of my good fortune in receiving Narayan's grace. This allows me to come here unseen by others. I hope that very soon I will be visible to everyone. So Krishna says he's worshipping Lord Vishnu to keep his beloved family, friends, lovers in Vrindavan alive. This is the Aprakrita Leela of Krishna. It's so wonderful. Just like we also hear that Mother Jashoda, right? She prays to Narayan to protect her beloved son. Right? Krishna also wears tilak, right? We see sometimes. This is the Aprakrita Leela. I'll read this purport here. Krishna has two kinds of presence, prakat and aprakat, manifest and unmanifest. Both are identical to the sincere devotee. Even if Krishna is not physically present, the devotee's absorption in the affairs of Krishna makes him present. This is confirmed in Brahma Samhita. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santasa deva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achincha guna swarupam govindam adi purusham tamam bhajam. Everyone knows this verse. Due to their intense love, the pure devotee always sees Lord Krishna present within his heart. All glories to Govinda, the primeval personality of Godhead. When Krishna is not manifest before the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they are always absorbed in thoughts of him. Therefore, even though Krishna was living at that time in Dwarka, he was simultaneously present before all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. This was his aprakat presence. Devotees who are always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna will soon see Krishna face to face without a doubt. Devotees who are always engaged in Krishna consciousness and are fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna certainly return home, back to Godhead. They then see Krishna directly, face to face, take prasad with him, and enjoy his company. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjana. During his lifetime, a pure devotee is always speaking of Krishna and engaging in his service. And as soon as he gives up his body, he immediately returns to Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna is personally present. He then meets Krishna directly. This is successful human life. This is the meaning of prakateha anibe sattvar. The pure devotee will soon see the personal manifestation of Lord Shri Krishna. Yadave vipakka jata dushta kamsa pakka tahami koilo sabakoi ache dui charijan tahamadi vrindavam ailamami janiho nishchoy. I have already killed all the mischievous demons or enemies of the Jadu dynasty, and I have also killed Kamsa and his allies. However, there are 2 or 4 demons still living. I want to kill them, and after doing so, I shall very soon return to Vrindavan. Please know this for certain. Purport: just as Krishna does not take a step away from Vrindavan, Krishna's devotee also does not like to leave Vrindavan. However, when he has to tend to Krishna's business, he leaves Vrindavan. It sounds here like Srila Prabhupada speaking about himself, actually, because he had a lot of attachment to Vrindavan. Right? He wanted to. He was living in Vrindavan at the time when he went to take his mission up in America, right? And then he always wanted to leave his body in Vrindavan also, as he did in the end, right? And we hear of that time when he felt like he was going to leave his body, and I think he was in New York or in America somewhere, and he wrote that message to Srila Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, "Oh, please ask Sridhar Maharaj, what should I do? Right? I'm going to leave my body very soon. I think I'm going to, but I'm here in New York City. I don't want to leave here. So should I, take the risk of staying here and continuing with my service? I may die here. Or should I just leave everything and go to Vrindavan? I can leave my body in Vrindavan, which is my heart's desire." And Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave that answer, right? That, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. Because ultimately Vrindavan is a plane of consciousness, right? But anyhow, he had this special attachment, devotion, relationship with Vrindavan. Right? So how painful, actually. We really don't have any conception what's in the hearts, the consciousness of the pure devotees. And there's also that poem that he wrote to Krishna, right? When he's on the Jaladuta, the boat, going across to America. And he wrote that poem to Krishna, saying, in the future, we can dance, we can play together, we can do many wonderful things, but now I have this service to do. Oh, thank you, Didi. Now I have this job to do, right? And he says, that's come from Radharani's side, right? Meaning his guru, seeing his guru as Radharani, right? So, but he's like kind of appealing to Krishna in this little tricky way, like Radharani will be pleased with you if you will help me in this mission, right? That she will be happy with you. So you please help me in this mission, right? So, but the fact that he like directly, of course we all may pray to Krishna sometimes, but it's a direct, personal, like they have a relationship, and we will play together in the future, we can have many good times together, but now I have this mission to carry out, right? So it's very striking to me actually when he's writing this, saying, it sounds like he's speaking in a personal way. Actually, some of his purports are quite surprising in how personal he becomes, right? Like there's one purport where he talks about how many people opposed his mission, and yet by Krishna's grace we were able to overcome, right? And he's really speaking from the heart. Actually, we see that, there's no duplicity in the pure devotees, but they're in this bare kind of way sometimes. They're just like showing their soul and their vulnerability, right? Like Kavirāja Gosvāmī himself, he's also, I was thinking about it last night, like those sections where he's like, I'm losing my eyesight, and my hands are not working properly. I'm afraid I could die any moment. Like such intense vulnerability, right? He's writing, composing Caitanya-Caritāmṛta. It's a privilege for us to hear that, right? Krishna's devotee, just as Krishna does not take a step away from Vrindavan, Krishna's devotee also does not like to leave Vrindavan. However, when he has to tend to Krishna's business, he leaves Vrindavan. After finishing his mission, a pure devotee returns home back to Godhead, back to Vrindavan. Krishna assured Radharani that after killing the demons outside Vrindavan, he would return. I am coming back very soon, he promised, as soon as I have killed the few remaining demons. Se shachu gana hoite braja jana rakite rohira je udasi na hoya je bastri putra dane Kavirāja vadane jadu gane santosh lagiya. I wish to protect the inhabitants of Vrindavan from the attacks of my enemies. That is why I remain in my kingdom, because Vrindavan was always under attack, right? Because Kamsa and his cronies, right? They want to kill Krishna, right? And so they're always, so Krishna's friends are also under threat because of his presence there. But of course we know from the broader view, this is all an orchestration, right? It is a way of intensifying the love between Krishna and his associates. And so that, in that orchestration, they're all entering the depths of separation in divine love, right? And intensifying the connection, actually. I wish to protect the inhabitants of Vrindavan from the attacks of my enemies. That is why I remain in my kingdom. Otherwise, I am indifferent to my royal position. Whatever wives, sons, and wealth I maintain in the kingdom are only for the satisfaction of the jadus, his relatives. Right? Tomar je prema gun kore ama karshan nani pe ama dindo shabishe punasi vrindavane brajavadu tomasane vilasi barajani divase. Your loving qualities always attract me to Vrindavan. Indeed, they will bring me back within 10 or 20 days, and when I return, I shall enjoy both day and night with you and all the damsels of Braja Bhumi. Etatare kohi Krishna braja jaite sa Krishna eka shlok bodhi shunailo se shlok shuni radha kandilo sakala bandha Krishna prapte pratiti hoilo. While speaking to Srimati Radharani, Krishna became very anxious to return to Vrindavan. He made her listen to a verse which banished all her difficulties and which assured her that she would again attain Krishna. Now this was Krishna's response to Srimati Radharani when they were, expressing their mood of separation from Krishna. Mayi bhaktir hi bhutanam amrita tvaya kalpate dishtya yad asan matsneho bhavati nam madapanaha. Lord Krishna said, devotional service unto me is the only way to attain me. My dear gopis, whatever love and affection you have attained for me by good fortune is the only reason for my returning to you. And this verse, like we were discussing the other day, right, the gopi statement to Krishna, it has one layer of meaning, but there's also a deeper layer of meaning, right? And so in this verse, because Sanskrit has that type of broadness, right? It can be interpreted in different ways. So on one level, Krishna is saying, right, you're very fortunate that you have this natural love and affection for me, and naturally you will come to me because of that. But our gurus have explained another way this can be understood is Krishna is actually saying on a deeper level, I'm very fortunate, right, that I've received such pure love, right? Because normally everyone's approaching me to get something. Everyone wants liberation, right? Amrita, they want eternal life, right? They want liberation. So normally people are approaching me with some kind of motive. But you're approaching me just because of your natural love and affection for me. I am blessed, right? I am fortunate to be the recipient of such pure love, right? And this is the deep heart that Krishna has, right, for his devotees, and we're reminded of that line, right, that Jayadev Goswami, that Krishna wrote actually, right, when Jayadev Goswami was composing Gita Govinda, and then this inspiration came. What is that line? Dehi pada palavam udadam. That this inspiration came in the course of his writing, that Krishna himself, right, wanted to take the foot dust of Radharani, right? But this came in his mind, but then he thought, oh no, this is too much, so he put down his pen, or what was scribe? So they call it scribe, yeah, or whatever he had. This is 1,000, 2,000 years ago or something. And went for his morning bath. He comes back and he sees that the lunch has already been eaten, and he asks his wife, oh, what happened? Oh, you came, you took your lunch, and you went and you wrote something in your manuscript. And Jayadev's, what happened? And then he goes and he sees, and that line was written, and he understood. Krishna himself came to affirm that, that he is taking the foot dust of his beloved devotees. There's also a similar expression in Caitanya-Caritāmṛta when Mahaprabhu is meeting with Sanatana Goswami. And he says that with your foot dust, all the worlds can be purified, something like that, right? Esa bharta prabhu swarupe rasane rachi dine gode vasi gode asvadane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sit in his room with Srup Damodar and taste the topics of these verses day and night. Nitya kale se bhave avishta hoya shloka padinache jagannath mukha chaya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, completely absorbed in ecstatic emotion. While looking at the face of Lord Jagannath, he danced and recited these verses. Sarup Gosayar Bhagyan Ajay Varnan Prabhute Avishtajar Kaivakyaman. No one can describe the good fortune of Srup Damodar Goswami. for he is always absorbed in the service of the Lord with his body, mind, and words. Sarupe Indriye Prabhur Nijendriya Gan Avishta Hoya Kore Gana Swadan. The senses of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were identical with the senses of Sarup. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to become fully absorbed in tasting the singing of Sarup Damodar. Bhave aveshe kabo bhumite bosiya, tarjanite bhumelike adomukha hoya. In emotional ecstasy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sometimes sit on the ground and looking down would write on the ground with his finger. Angulite koto hobe jani damodar, boya nija kode niva doye prabhukar. Feeling that the Lord would injure his finger by writing in this way, Sarup Damodar checked him with his own hand. So in the madness of love, right? Mahaprabhu is behaving like this. Prabhu bhavanurupa sarupera gan, jabe je rasataha kore murtiman. Sarup Damodar used to sing exactly according to the ecstatic emotion of the Lord. Whenever a particular mela was being tasted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarup Damodar would personify it by singing. So Mahaprabhu's very intimate associates, they're very attuned to his moods of divine love, right? And so in particular we hear Sarup Damodar, and then the other was Ramananda Rai, right? They're Lalita and Vishakha, right? They're Radharani's closest girlfriends, and so when Mahaprabhu's in that mood of Radharani, they're the ones who are most, attuned to his, the subtleties of his different moods of divine love, and they're giving him comfort or inspiration by chanting different verses or singing different songs, depending on his mood, giving him some relief, right? So Sarup Damodar, he's particularly qualified in singing, right, we hear. And so he would sing what Mahaprabhu was feeling. Shri Jagannath deke Shri Mukhamal, tahar upar sundar noyan yugal. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked upon the beautiful lotus-like face and eyes of Lord Jagannath. Shurya kirane mukh kore jalamal, malya vastra divya alankar parimal. Lord Jagannath was garlanded, dressed with nice garments, and adorned with beautiful ornaments. His face was glittering from the rays of sunshine, and the entire atmosphere was fragrant. Prabhu hridoye ananda sindhu utalila, unmad janjavad tatkane utilo. An ocean of transcendental bliss expanded in the heart of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and symptoms of madness immediately intensified like a hurricane. Anandonmade uttai bhave taranga, nanabhav soinye upadilo judharanga. The madness of transcendental bliss created waves of various emotions. The emotions appeared like opposing soldiers staging a fight. Bhavadoe bhavashanti sandesha balya, sanchari sadvikastai swabhav prabhalya. There was an increase in all the natural emotional symptoms. Thus there were awakening emotions, peacefulness, joined, mixed, transcendental and prevalent emotions, and impetuses for emotion. Prabhu Shadir Jeno Shuddha Hemachal, Bhava Pushpa Drumatahe Pushpita Sakal. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body appeared like a transcendental Himalayan mountain, bearing ecstatic, emotional flower trees, all of them blooming. Wow, what an analogy. A transcendental Himalayan mountain bearing ecstatic, emotional flower trees, all of them blooming. That reminds me of those descriptions of Govardhan, right? Because we worship Govardhan as Krishna, right? But he has there's actually this twofold nature to Govardhan. And Govardhan has another aspect as a devotee of Krishna, right? And there are some descriptions in the scriptures, I think Bhagavatam, how all of the features on Govardhan Hill, they're actually expressing different symptoms of divine love, right? And so, different, like this, these blooming flowers is like his hands, or his hair is standing on end, right? The lakes, the streams, of course you don't see that now, but previously Govardhan was much bigger and more, what's the word? More green and so on. And so like the streams, they're like tears of ecstasy coming from his eyes and so on. So Govardhan, and there's one verse of the gopis, they're Śrīla Varyo, they're describing Govardhan as the greatest of all servants of Hari, the greatest of devotees, like that. So he has that mood also. So similarly, Mahaprabhu is being described.
Given, this expression of all
I think
varieties.
I think it's in Bhagavatam. I don't quite remember. Definitely there's an expression there of the gopis where they're describing him as the supreme devotee of the Lord. And then I can try to find. I think I heard from Gurudev.
Like caves are there.
Yeah, and Govardhan is also supplying so much service paraphernalia. These caves where the intimate pastimes of Krishna can take place, right? And so many kunjas, forest groves, soft grasses, right? The animals, they're all supporting the affairs of Krishna, right?
And they are compared with emotion.
There's another verse like that. Maybe not every single detail, but yeah, like the some parts are described like that from what I remember. I can try to find. I think we may have made an article actually where that was included, some mention of that.
It would be nice to read.
I'll try to find it. Okay. Dekite akashoye sabachittaman premamrita vishta prabhu sincha sabarman. Upon seeing all these symptoms, everyone's mind and consciousness were attracted. Indeed, the Lord sprinkled everyone's mind with the nectar of transcendental love of Godhead. Jagannath Sevak Jata Rajapatra Gan Yachika Loka Nilachal Vasi Jata Jan. He sprinkled the minds of the servants of Lord Jagannath, the government officers, the pilgrim visitors, the general populace, and all the residents of Jagannath Puri. Prabhu Nitya Prem Deki Hoye Chamatkar Krishna Prem Ucha Lila Hridoye Sabar. After seeing the dancing and ecstatic love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone became astonished. In their hearts, they became infatuated with love of Krishna. Premenache gailo kore kolohol, Prabhu Nitya deke sobe, anande vival. Everyone danced and chanted in ecstatic love, and a great noise resounded. Everyone was overwhelmed with transcendental bliss just to see the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anya kikaye Jagannath haladar, Prabhu Nitya deki suke cholila mantar. Apart from the others, even Lord Jagannath and Lord Balaram, with great happiness, began to move very slowly upon seeing the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kamusuke nityaranga deke rataraki, se kotukja dekilo se tar shakshi. Lord Jagannath and Lord Balaram sometimes stopped the car and happily observed Lord Chaitanya's dancing. Anyone who was able to see them stop and watch the dancing bore witness to their pastime. So they're going in the carts, the deities, and the devotees are pulling them, but actually the Lord is moving by his own will, right? And when he likes, the cart cannot go, they cannot pull anymore. And when he likes, then they're going. It is according to Jagannath's will. So when he wants, he likes to stop and see Mahaprabhu's dancing. And I mentioned earlier how there was this kind of game that was played also that, Mahaprabhu would test Jagannath, right? He would deliberately, Mahaprabhu would stop moving and then deliberately like testing Jagannath. Oh, will you also wait for me? And of course, Lord Jagannath would do so. He mata Prabhu nitya kodite brahmite prataparudra age lagila podite. When Mahaprabhu was dancing and wandering in this way, he fell down in front of Maharaj Prataparudra. Sambrame Prataparudra Prabhu ke dorilo, taha ke dekite Prabhu bhaya gyan hoilo. Maharaj Prataparudra picked the Lord up with great respect. But upon seeing, did I skip the one before? Mahaprabhu was dancing and he fell down in front of the king. The king picked the Lord up with great respect. But upon seeing the king, Mahaprabhu came to his external senses. Jai Shri Gauranga Sundar Ji ki Jai, Shri Radha Giridhari ki Jai. Rajadeki Mahaprabhu Kodendikar Chichi Vishaya Sparsha Hoilo Amar. After seeing the king, Mahaprabhu condemned himself, saying, "Oh, how pitiful it is that I have touched a person who is interested in mundane affairs." So Mahaprabhu was very cruel to the king, isn't he? Of course, he's doing so to churn his heart, make his love even stronger. But again and again, the king is trying to have darshan of Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu's rejecting him. But now, finally, in the next chapter, the king has his wish fulfilled.
I'm surprised that the king picked Mahaprabhu up.
Right. Well, he must have thought, now's my chance, right? And there are crowds around, there's lots of hustle and bustle, and now's my chance, Or maybe it was just instinctive, actually, because maybe there happened to be no one paying attention, right? And, well, it's hard to imagine that, right? But somehow or other, that seva came to the king, right? He must have been very near to him.
Or they were in another group.
Right, something, right? So actually, by Mahaprabhu's arrangement, the king was given that opportunity, right? Because otherwise, so many, Nityananda Prabhu, Srup Damodar, so many others would normally have done that seva, right? But somehow the king is the one who sees it. Hang on, he fell right in front of the king.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fell down right. So he, he knows what he's doing. It's Mahaprabhu's, teasing his devotees, right? He falls down right in front of him, and then when the king lifts him up, then he says, "Oh, don't touch me." But it is his mercy. Not even Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Kashishvar or Govinda took care of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he fell down. Nityananda was in great ecstasy. Okay, now we have the explanation, right? So Nityananda was in so much ecstasy he didn't notice, and Kashishvar and Govinda were elsewhere. Rajapi Raja Deki Hadir Sevan Prasana Hoyache Tade Milibade Man. Mahaprabhu had already been satisfied by the king's behavior, for the king had accepted the service of a sweeper for Lord Jagannath. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually desired to see the king. Tatapiya pannagane korite savadhane bhaya kichuro shabasa koila bhagavan. However, just to warn his personal associates, the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu externally expressed feelings of anger. Prabhur vachane rajar mone hoilo moe sarvabhoma kohe tumi na koe samshoe. King Prataparuja became frightened when Lord Chaitanya showed external anger. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told the king, don't worry. Toma upare prabhur suprasanaman, toma laksha kore shikayani jagan. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya informs the king, the Lord is very satisfied with you. By pointing you out, he was teaching his personal associates how to behave with mundane people. So he's giving this instruction, that someone who is particularly in the renounced order of life, they should be very, but in general you could say anyone who is trying to be very exclusive in their devotional life should be careful in associating too closely with persons who are absorbed in worldly affairs, right? So the king is actually a great devotee, but externally, he's surrounded by so many objects of sense pleasure, right? And so much wealth and so on. Let's see. Sarvabhauma continued, I shall submit your petition when there is an opportune moment. It will then be easy for you to come and meet the Lord. Tobe Mahaprabhu dat Pradakshina Koriya Rata Pache Jai Tele Rate Mata Diya. After circumambulating Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went behind the car and began pushing it with his head. What a sight, huh? Telite chalilada hada hada kori chatodike lokasa bole hari hari. As soon as he pushed, the car immediately started to move, making a rattling noise. The people all around began to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hari, Hari. Tobe Prabhu Nija Bhakta Gan Loya Sange Baladev Subhadra Agre Nitya Kore Range. As the car began to move, Mahaprabhu took his personal associates in front of the cars occupied by Lord Balaram and Subhadra, the goddess of fortune. Greatly inspired, he then began to dance in front of them. Was the car stuck? Did we hear that? No, we didn't hear that. Seems like it got stuck, but it doesn't mention. After finishing the dance before Lord Baladev and Subhadra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came before Lord Jagannath's car. Upon seeing Lord Jagannath, he began to dance again. Choli aila rata balagandi stane Jagannath rata daki deke dahine bame. When they reached the place called Balagandi, Lord Jagannath stopped his car and began to look left and right. Bame vipra shashan narikelavan dahine to pushpadyan jena vrindavan. On the left side, Lord Jagannath saw the neighborhood of Brahmins known as Vipra Shasana and the coconut tree grove. On the right side, he saw nice flower gardens resembling those in the holy place, Vrindavan. Age nitya kore gor loya bhaktagan rata raki Jagannath korenda darshan. Mahaprabhu and his devotees were dancing in front of the car, and having stopped the car, Lord Jagannath watched the dancing. Se stale bhog lage achoye niyam koti bhog Jagannath kore asvadan. It was customary that food be offered to the Lord at Vipra Shasana. Indeed, innumerable dishes of food were offered, and Lord Jagannath tasted each one of them. Jagannathe chotto boro jatta bhaktagan nija nija uttambo kore samarpan. All kinds of devotees of Lord Jagannath, from neophytes to the most advanced, offered their best cooked food to the Lord. Raja Raja Mahishi Vrinda Pachamitra Gan Nilachal Vasi Jata Chotto Boro Jan. This included the king, his queens, his ministers and friends, and all other big and small residents of Jagannath Puri. Nana deshe deshe jata yatrika jan nija nija bogataha kore samarpan. All the visitors who had come from different countries to Jagannath Puri, as well as the local devotees, offered their personally cooked food to the Lord. So this probably, that's only like once a year, right? Something like that happens. Because normally, it's a closed system, right? Jagannath's in his temple, and not everyone's allowed to come in, and there's a very specific system for cooking for him, right? And so many persons are designated. I think we heard the other day, there's like I think maybe Devi Shish Prabhu mentioned it. There's these 64 food offerings throughout the day. And I think what he was saying is that there's a different family who's designated to cook for each offering. Because there's hundreds and hundreds of these pandas, right, who serve Jagannath. And I think that's what he said. There's a specific family who's responsible for each of these 64 offerings, right? So it's a very kind of closed system. So this must be very rare, where anyone and everyone can come and offer their preparations to Jagannath.
It's like Ratha-yātrā.
It's Ratha-yātrā, yeah. Yeah. The Lord is bestowing his mercy, right? Generosity. So probably only at Ratha-yātrā such a thing is possible. Chotto Bodo Jan. You see that a few times in Caitanya-Caritāmṛta. It's very sweet, simple Bengali. Chotto, small, Bodo, big. They still use now. So it means all the little, unimportant people, and Bodo, all the big, important people, right? They all had a chance. And there's another verse I like very much, where Kavirāja Gosvāmī is saying he offers his respects to all devotees of the Lord, the little and the big devotees, Chotto Bodo Bhakta Gan. He says, all the small devotees and the big devotees also. There was once this program we had in Navadvip. I don't remember, maybe it was Gurudev's disappearance day, and Acharya Maharaj had invited many sannyasis from other Gaudiya Maths and Sarod Hope. I remember one of them, he started his lecture quoting that verse, I like it very much. I offer my respects to all the little devotees and the big devotees too. Chotto Bodo Bhakta Gan. Very charming phrase.
Nobody is little internationally.
I mean, you can say yes, but you can also say no, right? The Mother Jashoda, we can never equal her, right? Constitutionally, right? We're kind of little.
Everywhere.
But it's also true that there's that's from the perspective of what's it called, vichar, tatastha vichar, right? From impartial analysis, then we will say, oh, this is smaller, this is big, this is a greater devotee, this is from one perspective. But actually, we don't like to think like that, as you're saying, and because every devotee is perfectly fulfilled in their relationship with Krishna, it is all full, it is all complete, and the mood of love compensates any difference between high and low, right? So that feeling isn't there, right? But only if we're taking a particular view, then you may say like that. But yes, we're not so comfortable taking such a view. But we are happy to, as individuals, we are happy to celebrate those with higher level of devotion, right? We can also, the devotees themselves will be feeling, everyone is above me, right? Everyone is higher than me. Okay, well, let's see. We could read a few more verses. Okay, yeah, we'll just finish this little description here. All the visitors who had come from different countries to Jagannath Puri, as well as the local devotees, offered their personally cooked food to the Lord. Has anyone, you were there for Ratha-yātrā before, weren't you? And did you see that? Does that still happen? Like many people coming and offering their food preparations.
You mean to Lord Jagannath?
Yes, that's what it's describing
we
here.
cannot see that anyway.
No, during the Ratha-yātrā at that time. You didn't see that, no? I guess with all the crowds now, that would be quite difficult.
But how can you...
Yeah.
Plate?
Yeah, I don't know what the logistics would be there. But it's saying here that's how it used to be, that everyone who came from all over India, they could make their food offerings.
But I think that's happening inside.
Yeah.
No, this is outside. Yeah. Jagannath is still outside. Yeah, because I don't think inside they would allow it. It's like very specific who cooks for him. No, he's still outside. Because Jagannath there's a whole other chapter describing how Jagannath goes back into the temple, right?
I suppose that if he's out, everyone is happy to make any offering to him. So maybe people will come and offer and then take home the prasad.
Right, could be like that, yeah.
I remember also Gurudev was saying that a bit later in the day, then Jagannath is standing still, the car, and then many devotees can come during the sort of evening. Right.
That's true, yeah. When the crowds have dispersed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true, yeah. Well, they'll find some way, right? Oh, okay. The devotees offered their foods everywhere, in front and behind the car, on the two sides and within the flower garden. Wherever possible, they made their offering to the Lord, for there were no hard and fast rules. So yeah, it sounds like what you describe, they're coming and finding some way, right, some place, even from some distance in the garden. Bhoge samoy loker mahabida hoelo nitya chadi mahaprabhu pavane gelo. While the food was being offered, a large crowd of people gathered. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped his dancing and went to a nearby garden. Okay, I think it's a good place to stop. Then we're going to hear the description of Mahaprabhu's mood of ecstasy inside of the garden, and then finally the king getting the special mercy of the Lord, right? Oh, actually, we can finish the chapters, just a few more, and we'll finish. Premaveshe Mahaprabhu Pavana Paya Pushpojane Griha Pindai Rohila Podiya. Mahaprabhu went to the garden. Immersed in a great ecstatic emotion, he fell flat on a raised platform there. Nitya Parishrame Prabhu Dehe Gana Garma Sugandhi Shetal Vayu Koren Sevana. The Lord was very fatigued from the hard labor of dancing. And there was perspiration all over his body. He therefore enjoyed the fragrant, cool breeze of the garden. Jata Bhakta Kirtani Asya Rame Prativrika Tole Sobe Koden Vishrame. All the devotees who were performing Sankirtan came there and took rest under each and every tree. Eto Kohilo Prabhur Maha Sankirtan Jagannath Terage Jaiche Kodilo Nartan. Thus I have described the great performance of congregational chanting by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he danced in front of Lord Jagannath. Atagrete Prabhu Jaiche Kodila Nartan Chaitanya-shte Rupa Gosai Kodache Varnan. In his prayer known as the Caitanya-shtak, Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī has given a vivid description of the Lord's dancing before the car of Jagannath. And this is one of those verses. Ratha-yātrā rad adipadave nilachala patter adabra premurmi spurita natanulasa vivasha saharsham gayadbi parivritta tanur vaishnava janai sa Chaitanya kime punar pijashur yasyati padam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced down the main road in great ecstasy before Lord Jagannath, the master of Nilachal, who was sitting on his car. overwhelmed by the transcendental bliss of dancing and surrounded by Vaishnavas who sang the holy names, he manifested waves of ecstatic love of Godhead. When will Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again be visible to my vision? Yaje shune se Shri Chaitanya paye, Sudrida Vishwasa saha prema bhakti hoye. Anyone who hears this description of the car festival will attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He will also attain the elevated state by which he will have firm conviction in devotional service and love of Godhead. Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Jaharaj Caitanya-Caritāmṛta Kohe Kṛṣṇadāsa. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rup and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Kṛṣṇadāsa, narrate Shri Caitanya-Caritāmṛta, following in their footsteps. Jai Shri Caitanya-Caritāmṛta, Jai Shri Krishna's Kavirāja Gosvāmī ki Jai. So we'll pick up from chapter 14 in our next reading, performance of the Vrindavan pastimes. Someone want to sing? Prabhu, you sing. Hare Nama Krishna Jadavaya Namaha Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohana Shri Chaitanya Nityananda
Rama Rama Hare Hare Jai Shri Jai Saparikat Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Gi Saparikat Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ji Ki Jai Jai Saparikat Shri Shri I forgot it.
Bhakti Sundar
Jai Saparikat Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhari Ju Ki Jai Jai Śrīla Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Jai Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Raka Siddhar Dev Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Bhagavan Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Śrī Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Jai Śrī Caitanya Saraswati Madhya-līlā Ki Jai Jai Śrī Caitanya Saraswati Madhya Ki Jai Śrī Caitanya Saraswati London Chapter Ki Jai Jai Śrī Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Jai Śrī Śrīmati Vishakha